good morning, everybody. I hope you guys having an amazing day so far. What's today? Today is Thursday, right? Today is Thursday. Oh, I am so glad to be here. Well, let me tell you something. Waking up every morning is not a habit. All right? You should always be thankful that you made it. It's another day, it's a new day. Don't ever take it for granted because at the end of the day, the breath that we allow us to do things that we do on a daily basis, right, does not belong to us. It comes from a supreme being who has created this world, okay? So every single time you wake up in the morning, you're strong, you're get ready to go to work, you should always be thankful. And I am thankful this morning that one more time I'm among y'all and I got still breath in my lungs. So it is something that I don't take for granted. I'm always thankful for that, and you should too. All right, everybody, welcome back to another live stream. For those of you that for always being here, welcome back. If you're finding me for the first time, welcome. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mervell. I am originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but I do live in the United States of America. I also travel back and forth to my home country to do business, and I encourage people on my YouTube channel to invest in the motherland back in Africa. So if that sounds like something that interests you, I would advise to stick around, hear me out, and if you like what you see, hit the like button, subscribe, and come back for more videos. All right? So I think I've discussed this before. Now that I'm back to work, and this is becoming a little more productive for me to stay active on my YouTube channel versus creating pre-recorded content. It could be time consuming and stressful to make sometimes, but when I'm driving and I have things to talk about, we could always have this kind of conversations, right? So, and this is more productive for me, but I'm still committed to creating a pre-recorded content for you guys. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please let me know where you're tuning in from. Hello. How you doing? Welcome to the channel. I do appreciate you guys for showing up. It's 6:45 Eastern Standard Time out here in Pennsylvania. I don't know what time it is from wherever you guys are watching from, so feel free to let me know in the comment section down below as well. So happy Thursday to every and each one of you tuning in. That really means a lot. So you guys seeing the title, out of curiosity you clicked on this video, so you want to know what I have to say about this subject, and just sit back. I have a lot more to talk about. All right, watching from Kentucky. Hell yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in from Kentucky. Shout out to for everybody. Shout out to all Africans in Kentucky in particular, and everybody as I live out there. So my heart, always thankful when I see people tuning in from all over. It really makes my day, and it actually let me know that there are more people who are interested in watching videos that I am coming out from. It is 4 a.m. If you don't mind letting me know from, I can't even pronounce that. Is it here in the States or is it in another country? Just please let me know. I'm not familiar with that city. Oh, New Mexico. Hell yeah. That's in the U.S. All right, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in. I do really appreciate you. Also, do me one more favor. Hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. It will really, really go along with the YouTube algorithm. It would really, really go a long way. All right. So, without further ado, guys, let's jump straight to today's live stream. All right. So there are a few things on my mind that I would like to talk to you guys about, but feel free to let me know what you feel about it in the comment section down below, so we can all have a constructive debate or discussion without going at each other. All right. So I prefer to maintain respect in this comment section. The negativity, it is something that's not welcome on my YouTube channel. So if you are coming out here with negative comments, depending on how I feel, you may end up getting blocked or just muted from the channel. You will never see me when I go live or release a video, because I don't tolerate any of this nonsense. All right. So without further ado, let's go straight to it. All right, guys. Africa has its issues. You know what I'm saying? Africa has a lot of issues, but are those issues worth you staying the hell away from Africa forever and not looking back? That answer, I cannot answer that for you guys. But I know for a fact I can answer that question for myself. And if you stay long enough, you will probably find out what my personal answer would be on this topic. We can sit out here, for those of us that are from Africa, talk about, you know, how the infrastructures aren't there, how, you know, politicians are destroying African countries, how corruption, you know, is running rampant in Africa. There are just so many issues. The list is way too long to even discuss. However, every single time, personally, when I fly to Congo and I touch down, the moment I exit the airplane, I just feel at home. There is just this breeze that hits you in the face the moment you exit the plane. You will know, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be. I was lucky enough to leave Congo when I was 19 years old. I've been here for roughly 13 years now, right? And I love it here in the States just as much as I love it out there back in the Congo. I do work here full time. I wish I could travel to Congo or to Africa in general more often than I do, but at the end of the day, everything we're doing here, it is the reflection of what we are used to back at home, and I'll explain. All right. Most Africans, when they come to the West in general, they have the tendency to do exceptionally well, just so much so they can move back to Africa and contribute to the economy, or whether it is to just build a home to stay there. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people talk smack about Africans. When they hear your African accent, depending on the situation, they ask you to go back to Africa. They ask you questions like, all right, if Africa is so great, why did you move here to America? Fair enough. And I'm going to ask you the same questions too. Why are all these giant tech companies are doing in Africa? If anything, you should be thankful for all the technological advancements that the world have made. You should be thankful for the electronic devices that you have in your fingertips that you brag about all day, every day. Yes, you have those factories that make those out here, but those resources aren't coming from here. They're not coming from the West. Ask yourself questions. Why, when France was kicked out of Niger and other countries that were colonized by France, they didn't want to leave? Go ahead and answer that question for me. I'm waiting. The comment section is waiting. I mean, if you don't have the answer for that question, I'll help you out and I'll answer that question for you. Because they know the moment they don't have control over Nigeria any longer, they won't have access to uranium. They won't have access to many other natural resources that are powering their economy. The current president of Nigeria, he stated, or let's just talk about Niger or Burkina Faso, for instance, like President Traore, the captain from the military, right? All right, he stated and he made it clear. All right, we are one of the poorest country in the world, right? Okay, fine, we accept it. Just leave our country, since you're the richest country, one of the richest country in the world. Don't come back and let us struggle and build our own economy. We don't need your help. They didn't want to leave. I know why they didn't want to leave. Because they know the moment they leave, somebody else was walking in about to do business with them. So all of the nonsense what people talk about when they see us Africans, living in their country, go back to Africa, blah, 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 blah. It's the most ignorant thing to say to someone. Because the world, the way that the global economy works, we are benefiting from one another. Human resources is another reason that is powering the labor markets in a lot of this country. When Africa moved to these nations, they take in jobs that their locals do not want to work. That's the reality. Let's just be honest about that. I don't feel ashamed at all to talk about my timeline, from my first job to where I'm at today. My very first job in America, I worked at a slaughterhouse. I don't feel no shame in it. I talk about it on my channel all the time. You understand what I'm saying? And I had friends that I had just met here in the States who, when they learned where I worked, they were like, man, you crazy. You should not be working there. You get a job. Well, what choice do I have? I didn't speak the language back then. The only option I had is that job, because my ride, depending on somebody who lived near me, who was driving me back and forth to work, and we worked on the same floor. That was the only option I had to begin with. And now guess what? Those same friends that were telling me that I didn't belong there, I mean, at some point they were right that I didn't belong there. And I know I didn't belong there. But that was my reality then. I had to embrace it. You understand what I'm saying? But I knew, okay, I needed to take English classes and maybe apply for a better job than what I do have now. But until then, I'm going to hold on to this job because that's the one that's paying my bills now. Now, guess what? All of my friends that were discouraging me, that were talking crap about me working at a slaughterhouse, none of them pay for drinks when we went out to the club or to the bar or to restaurants. I was paying for the most part. Why? Because they were lazy as heck. They didn't work at no jobs. They didn't, want to get their hands dirty to make that money. I was the one doing it. And every time we went out, it showed. My pockets were filled, theirs were empty. That's just one example of the level of ignorance. Because by doing that, it is contributing big time to the economy. We pay taxes, we do all of the stuff that we do out here. Life in America is getting up every morning, going to work, coming home, that's it. People barely socialize around here. People don't even trust each other. I don't even know my neighbors like that. Not because I don't want to, but that is the rhythm of the country. It'll feel weird for me going around and start, getting acquainted by people who don't have anything, who don't want to have anything to do with me. But in Africa, that is our culture. That is how we are used to one another. You live on the same streets. You probably know, I'd say 90 to 95% of the people living on the same streets as you. The barter system in Africa is huge. The sense of community still exists there. Those values we still live up to it till today. No wonder when people visit Africa for their very first time, or every time they go to Africa, they always tell you one story. People are so friendly, people are this and that. Guys, despite our issues, our problems we may have in the continent, make no mistake, it is one of the best places to live and do business in this world. Therefore, you have the Chinese there, you have the Japanese there, you have Americans there, you have Europeans there doing business. Some of them even moving there to live permanently. For instance, living here in America, owning a house, it's what I consider pretty much an empty dream. Not only that, housing markets is so ridiculously expensive, and it's way out of control, right? But when you purchase a home, you have a 30-year mortgage. Once the house, you complete the payment, that's just the mortgage. You stuck with property bills for the rest of your life. The moment you cannot pay those bills, those property, or make those property payments, they can come back and take the house anyway. So tell me, how is that owning a house? Whereas in Africa, on the other hand, when you own a property and your name goes onto the certificate of the title of the house, that house is yours for the rest of your life. Your children will live in that house. Your grandchildren will live in that house. Your great-grandchildren will live in that house until somebody decides that they want to sell it to somebody else. You ain't got to worry about property taxes like that. You understand what I'm saying? That's why somehow, some way, owning a house in America is almost a scam. You know? I personally know people who have lost their homes due to medical issues. I live in an apartment where I live in. There's this older couple, right? They own their homes. They lived in like Lehigh Valley area. You probably don't know where I'm talking about. But anyway, when the husband became diabetic and his wife started having more health issues, and the medical bills was out of their budget, that they had to sell their homes to pay for the medical expenses. And guess what? They moved into the apartment where I live in, and they have been living there for since 1985. And that's the story they told me themselves, right? It is a very sad situation to be in. Not only that, I used to work my very first job out of the academy. I worked at a sheriff's office, right? One of my coworkers told me a story about her mom. Her mom is retired. She collects Social Security checks, but what she gets is really not a lot. She told me the number, but I don't remember whatever it was. But I am confident it was under $1,600 a month. Her rent was already $1,200 a month. Her rent, right? She only had like 300 something bucks left. So guess what she had to do? She went and applied for food stamp. She applied for food stamp. They only approved her for, I think it was like $70 or $60. She got so pissed off. Now what she had to do, she had to move with her daughter. She moved back with her daughter and let the apartments go, which is my coworker, and she's married. What do you expect at this point? And that's one among some stories. I have stories that I can tell you. We'll be here for hours if I have to tell you all the stories that I've heard, that people personally told me about their situations out here. Don't get me wrong, America is a great country, but as Africans, consider it more like a warehouse. More like a corporation, more like a workplace. You come here, You get a job, you work, you invest back home. If you don't trust investing in Africa like that, there are multiple places around the world where you can invest your money, right? And still live a comfortable life. Because if something happens to you here, God help you. With the broken health care system that we have, you are screwed. Big time. You screwed. I remember when I had gotten injured after I dislocated my elbow, I talked about it briefly, and how like the long-term and short-term disability is also a joke. Because a lot of Americans, they can't even afford to live off of 100% of their income. What do you think 60% of your page, 50% of your income will do in the event you are disabled, like you are collecting a disability check? It might help, but it's not going to be enough to get you by. Let's just be honest about that. There are homeless people who work full-time in America. I shared this in one of my live streams, or maybe in one of my videos not too long ago, where one time we were at work, right? We received a call, we responded, we get there in this abandoned building. The owner wanted people to vacate their properties because they were renovating it. We made entry. I'm clearing this room, and I heard said somebody is in the bedroom. I announce myself. I give them verbal commands. They come towards me with their hands up. I talk to them, and they're just like, man, I'm just getting ready to go to work, man. Like, you're getting ready to go to work? Where do you work? He tell me where he works, and he works full-time. I'm like, He's like, man, I'm just trying to get my money together. I'm just trying to come up with a security deposit so I can get my own place. That right there broke my heart. It broke my heart. I was just like, damn, how can somebody who works full-time is unable to afford a rent? That was mind-boggling to me. But let's not remain on that subject. I had to tell you guys so you have an idea of what's going on out here. Despite the issues that we may have in Africa, everything else that's going on out there, instability, poverty, whatever. Personally, I think poverty is just a state of mind. With all the resources that we have in Africa, even people living in villages where the infrastructure is way much worse than most of our metropolitans, they grow food, they eat for free, they don't have to spend money on groceries and things like that. They still healthy. Hell, people living in village, they probably healthier than most of us who depend on processed food to survive. It's kind of like the same thing like here in America. People who like own places or who live like in countryside of most cities here in America, they hunt, meaning that they eat fresh meat, unlike the ones that you and I buy at Walmart that are processed. That's further deteriorating our health. Now you got to get to the gym because you're putting in all these weights. You know what I'm saying? So you'll see where I'm going with this. So America has its issues too. But for Americans born and grew up here, they don't have no other home than America. So for some of us who have moved here from somewhere, we appreciate staying here, but at the same time keeping in mind that, okay, we have a home that we could be appreciative of as well, which is the motherland, the continent of Africa. People don't, listen, make no mistake, don't let nobody fool you. People that are struggling here in America, if you ask them about American dream, they may spit on your face. They'll tell you it doesn't exist. But they'll tell you one thing though, and I believe that's one thing that we all have in common. It is, if you have money, you can live comfortably here in America. Well, let that sink in. Isn't that what we say to each other from the African community? If you have it in Africa, there is no need for you to come here in America, right? And after moving here, now we realize how hard it is to even make it in Africa while staying here. Some of us are building houses there, some of us are trying to do business there. So just so that you have a residual or passive income, so you don't have to work as much as you do here. Or maybe your plan is to build your business back at home and move back there, manage your business and stay there, not without looking back. That's, by the way, spoiler alert, that's what I've been working on since, I'd say, probably 2019 or 2020. You see what I'm saying? Guys, there is no perfect place in this world, but we need to be appreciative of our continent of Africa. Don't ever be ashamed to introduce yourself as African. I have American citizenship, but I am a proud African first. And I have a proud African because I didn't have American nationality until I lived here for at least 5 years. I worked here, paid taxes, did everything legally to where I'm at today. America is considered my second home. I like it here. Don't get me wrong. America has a lot of benefits, has a lot of advantages that we could take, but those advantages we could also take it back home and create an opportunity for those that have not had the chance to come here to the States to benefit from those back at home without them needing to come here. Every time I interact with friends that I grew up with back in Africa who are curious about how life it is here in America, who always ask my opinion and they want to move here, I always tell them, if you're moving here legally, just like I did, I won't stop you. But if you're trying to like risk it all and come up with this a lot of money only to end up here undocumented immigrants and start and going through all the immigration process, it's very, very dangerous and risky. Look at what's going on in New York right now. Look at what people are like undocumented immigrants are going through. Some of them are getting shipped down here from Texas. They get put on buses and send them down here to New York City. And New York don't have places to house them all. Now the government find themselves in this predicament that it is becoming more and more difficult to get out of. Guys, Africa, it's not that bad. It really isn't. If you're here in America or in the West in general, you making $1, why don't you, start your own enterprise? Why don't you start your own company and see where things go? I know some of you are about to say, oh, I don't trust doing business in Africa. But if you don't trust doing business in Africa, but at the same time you're complaining about America, well, make up your mind. Do something about your life. Maybe start traveling. Go see what is out there outside of Africa you may like. And if you find that, you go ahead and do it. But I would rather you Africans to take your money back to Africa. That's where we're all going to grow our economies. That's where we're going to help locals who need the help the most. You understand what I'm saying? Don't let nobody fool you. A lot of people will talk crap about Africa, but behind behind closed doors, they're doing business in Africa. They're winning big. Remember when Ghana launched the year of return in 2019? A lot of people from all over the world visited Africa. Some of them even moved there permanently and they still live there and they love it. I remember watching an interview, Steve Harvey, the legendary Steve Harvey, talking about how they were lied to growing up. That the people who told them not to go to Africa because of poverty, Ebola, all of the stereotypes that some of you ignorant believe about Africa, jungles and all that, right? Gets there, and guess who he saw? The same people who told them not to go to Africa are there doing business and winning big. Now it's eye-opening to them. They're like, whoa. Most of them, guess what they said? I wish I had known about Africa earlier. That's what most of them were saying. And guess what Steve Harvey did? He started Fueled Family in South Africa. Maybe other nations, didn't do no research on that, but I know for a fact in South Africa, there's one. And it's doing so much better. Maybe it needed to come from someone who wasn't born and raised, who, by the way, is already successful in life. For you guys to understand the importance of the continent of Africa, things that we're leaving behind. All right. Every time, like I'm always open. I'm an open book. I always have conversations about Africa. I have coworkers asking me questions about Africa all the time. And sometimes I don't even get offended anymore like I used to when I first got here. I'm like, all right, cool. They just not educated or they don't know enough about Africa. Maybe I am going to serve that purpose to educate them about Africa so that they have a whole different perspective than the narrative that they learned growing up, right? And I get it. It goes the same as us Africans too. I was under the impression before moving to America that America looked like Los Angeles downtown. You know those Hollywood movies that we watch, right? I was imagining myself living in one of those skyscrapers and the 13 floors with a view of the city. That's the image that Hollywood sold to the rest of the world, right? There was people rushing into here in America. And when I got here, I got off of JFK Airport. It was beautiful, much better than airports that I'm used to in Africa. I mean, in Congo, to be specific, right? And as soon as I got out the airport, my cousin picked me up. We on the road back to Pennsylvania. I'm looking around, it's dark everywhere. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Of course, I kept it to myself. I couldn't say anything. That right there hit me really hard. That impression that I had in my head, imaginary, prior to coming to America, was gone. The same day, before even we made it to Pennsylvania, it was already gone. It disappeared. It is the same kind of scenario. But remember, for some of you that watch soccer, remember World Cup 2010 that was organized in South Africa. That was the best way South Africa put themselves in the world map. Countries now know, oh, smack. Because like people were expecting to see giraffes running through the streets, rhinos, lions and shit. But when they get to places like Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, they're just like, wait, some of these cities are more beautiful than cities that we're used to where we came from, Europe, America, and so forth. And now they started asking questions about wildlife, only to find out that if you want that experience, you need to pay money, and it's going to be like hundreds of kilometers away from the city in their own habitat. They also have resorts there. You pay for it. You stay there. You get on the safari truck. You go to them places to experience those wildlife in their natural habitat. So there is the both world in Africa. That's the beauty of it. Guys, please, when you want to talk smack about Africa and you want to talk crap, you know what I mean? Kind of look down on African people like that. Just, I always give people one thing. Go to your zoo. Especially if you're here in America, you live here, you live in America. Go to your local zoo or the nearest zoo from your city. Go look at them animals, right? They're making money off of. I guarantee you, 90% of those exotic animals that most people go to the zoo to see came from Africa. I guarantee you that 100%. And I'm confident to say that. That should tell you something. You understand what I'm saying? There's no need shitting on one another. I believe this world is a much better place. We could all live together. But the governments, the narrative that they tend to put forward, it's more divisive, like it's intended to divide people. But us as people, we need to educate ourselves because our governments or media, they don't educate us enough. They only put forward narratives that are more destructive, that are more fear-mongering, to keep you from traveling and making you believe that America, France, Germany, all of this quote-unquote first world countries are the only safe place in this world where you could possibly live freely. And yet, when you go on social media, watch videos about a lot of people, from European places, they will tell you, in my city, I can never walk the streets around this time of the day. But then they want to tell you it is dangerous and unsafe in Africa. Are you kidding me? Just stop. You know what I'm saying? Just stop. It ain't worth it. Just go out there, find out on your own and come up to your own conclusion. And that's, by the way, that's why one of my New Year, resolution is to start traveling more often. And I'm still standing by it. The only thing that kind of held me back here was my injury. When I was injured, it kind of set me back a little bit. But it's not too late yet. I'll go back out there and I'll still do my thing. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys again for being here, hanging out with me, listening to what I had to say. If you're interested in it and you like what you see, don't hesitate to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Happy Thursday. I hope I'll see you soon. Until the next one, peace out.